Hi everyone, my name is Ken. Welcome to this house. Today we are exploring the Magic Chef Mansion. Built in 1908, this house boasts over 12,000 square feet and has a rich history with one of America's largest appliance makers. Stick around, we're about to see the inside. All right, so now we're in the antehall, which is where you actually enter the house. As we move through here, we get out to the main hall, and we can see that there's a grand staircase here in front of us. So as we start to look around this mansion, I'll tell you guys a little bit about its history. It was designed by famed architect Ernst C. Janssen and was constructed in 1908. This house boasts over 12,000 square feet. The original owner, Charles Stockstrom, also owned the Quick Meal Stove Company, which later became Magic Chef. Magic Chef was the largest stove maker in the world at the time. So getting back to the house, we can see that all of this woodwork in here is original, and the stenciling on the ceiling has been restored to its former glory. So off of the main hall, most of the rooms are organized, and you can actually see that in the floor plan down below here. So let's start on this side of the house. And now we're walking into the library, and just take a minute to really absorb all of this beautiful woodwork that's in here and all of this furniture. We can even see from these old photos here that a lot of this is original, including the glass panels over on this side of the room, the fireplace and hearth, and even some of the taxidermy. And as we turn our heads up, I want you all to notice that there are these details in the stenciling and the paint that have been lovingly restored and uncovered and restored to their former glory. So this room is a great example of period accuracy that has been updated, but updated in a way that only brings it to a preservation status. So moving on, we come into the dining room. This space is laid out in an oval. We can look all around and see the magnificent details. Once again, more stenciling work on the ceiling. And this table can actually sit 16 when all of the leaves are put in place. So you can imagine this room fully decked out on the holidays or for dinner parties. Heading out of the dining room, we're going to come over here to the breakfast room. And this room is really special. And just notice how different all these doors are as we travel throughout the house. This one has a glass pane with a single handle on it. We can come on through here. And this is a bit more of a cozy room. It has a lot of really large furniture as well as stenciling on the ceiling, which has been added at a later date. So that's not original to the house, but it really ties in the colors very well in here. And as we turn around, you know, there's a fireplace in every room of this house. So we can see the cast iron work and the tile there. As we continue in a straight line, first I want to point out that this door here, this is the first crystal doorknob that we're seeing in the house, and this is actually original. But moving out of this room, we come to the conservatory. And this room would have originally been for basically winterizing your garden. So you would have brought in plants and stacked them along the benches over here. They would have gotten sunlight in the winter time. So as we leave the conservatory, we're going to pass back through the breakfast room. And we're going to turn the corner. There is a giant butler's pantry. So just really take a moment to soak all of this in. So looking straight ahead, the large cabinet on the left-hand side is actually what stores the dining room leaves that we mentioned earlier. And we can see that these cabinets were all lovingly restored in the 90s. And these are solid pine, by the way. There are also some just like really old trinkets and artifacts that are stored in here. Okay, so passing through the butler's pantry, we come to the kitchen, and this kitchen is about as period correct as you could possibly find. So as we look around, we'll see all of this beautiful glazed brick on the walls, and you might have been thinking this looks like subway tile. Well, it's not. It's actually original with the house. And then the sink has the original backsplash to it, and originally it would not have been stainless steel, it would have been porcelain. As we look up at the ceiling, this is a tin ceiling from 1909 with ceiling fans from 1913. And there are little trinkets and memorabilia from Magic Chef kind of scattered around this kitchen on display. As we move forward through the space, we can see an old icebox and other old appliances around us. This is the Magic Chef stove right here, and the owner of this house still uses it, and from what we hear, it cooks meals perfectly. And there's even an old intercom system. So off the kitchen is the service hall. So this is pretty much a straight shot back to the rest of the house. This goes upstairs, and we're going to get that in just a moment. But for now, let's continue on this way. So there's also another entrance to the basement here, but something really cool. Let's take a look at this. There's an old telephone booth. And we can see that it has a plaque that reads Southwestern Bell Telephone Company with an old rotary phone to the side of it. Passing the telephone booth, we come back out here to the main hall. And we've got the breakfast room on that side and the dining room over here. But as we turn the corner, there's a whole nother wing of the house left to explore. So let's go on this way, and we're going to be going right through here first. Now we're walking into the reception room. As we look around the receiving room, let's just take a moment to really absorb this space. Notice how the bay window lets in a lot of natural light to really illuminate all of the wood trim and the ornate plaster work. And we're seeing little bits of gold here too. That is gold leafing that has been placed over the plaster. And the furnishings in this room are just exquisite. We can see how well they complement all of the decor and this gorgeous mural that soars above us on the ceiling. These chairs and this bench were actually part of this house, and they were brought back in here after the owner moved in. So as we keep walking, we come into the music room. And the music room is one of the smaller rooms on the first floor, but you can just imagine that the acoustics in here and the sound would just be phenomenal. And this space is separated by glass doors from the receiving room. And let's take a second to look at this trim that's between the rooms, because it is just absolutely gorgeous. And this is an original light fixture to the house. Notice that there are no shades, and we can show you in a picture that this is how it's always been. So back when this house was built, electricity was somewhat rare, so it was really nice to show off that you had electricity. It was definitely a status symbol. All right, so walking out of the music room, we come straight into the parlor, and this room has been completely restored. You can see from these old photos here that there was a lot of water damage up on the ceiling, but just look at this. This is fantastic. The fireplace has its original mosaic work, which really helps to tie all the colors together. And as we look at the fireplace, those gas logs are actually original to the house, and all of the poplar woodwork in here was originally meant to be painted. There are also these paintings of the Five Senses by Franz von Stuck, an artist, and these have actually been redone in more recent years because of the water damage that was in this room. So as we pan around the room, we can start to see these murals displayed on the different walls. There's also a grand piano in this room, and we can see more of the plasterwork that kind of hangs and drapes over these paintings on these walls, as well as the original light fixture that was in this room. As we leave the parlor, we walk back into the main hall, and this is where we entered the house. So we'll be going up the stairs here, and I'm going to stand up here just for scale. I am 6'1", so just look at how massive the newel post is here with the lamp as well. Now we're walking upstairs, And notice how expansive the space is. It really starts to open up here. From the 27-foot wide main hall below us, and we can see the quarter sawn oak paneling and wood details that surround us in this space and soar from floor to ceiling as we go up these rounded windows. As well as chairs that we're taking out of a Masonic temple in downtown St. Louis and reinstalled here. As we keep going up from the landing, we arrive at another hall, and there are display cases here with the family's photos from their trips to Egypt. And we can kind of see just a little glimpse into their life and their travels here. And here is the second floor plan. I'll leave this up on the screen just for a moment so we can kind of get our bearings. Off of this landing area are all of the chambers or bedrooms, and we'll be getting to the owner's suite in just a moment, but let's check out some of these other chambers in the meantime. This bedroom is very elegant. The color balance in here is great. We have a lot of purples, a lot of blues, teals, pinks, magentas that all line the ceilings of the stenciling above, and then they're all brought back together by the various decorations in the room itself. And the wood in this room would have originally been painted white, so it's actually period accurate to have the wood tones in this room to be painted. Off of this bedroom is a sleeping porch. So the sleeping porch has been closed up with windows, but back when this house was built, these would have been wide open to the air, or they would have had screens. That's because in the hot summer months, it might have gotten too warm to sleep inside, so the residents of this home could have slept out here to catch a cool summer breeze. So let's go back on through this bedroom and we'll start exploring the rest of these rooms. Turning the corner, we come to the first bathroom on this floor. And the floor here has actually been recreated from old photographs of this house. It was heavily damaged before the current owner took possession of the property. And it has just these beautiful porcelain tubs and sinks. So moving from the bathroom into the next space, we come into this room and we see that it is all decorated with period furniture, and the woodwork in here is actually really special. It is made from bird's eye maple, and we can even see that on the fireplace and the doors as a veneer. Passing back through this main hallway, we're now going to go into the owner's suite. This room is also known as Chamber 1 on the floor plan, and it is the largest of the chambers in this house. It contains 2 walk-in closets and even has call boxes that go down to the old intercom system that's in the kitchen. So for as big as this room is, it's easy to lose the little details because there's so much to look at. But if we look at the fireplace, we can see that it has the original tile work, as well as these little blue medallions that match the original quick meal ovens. Coming out of the owner's suite, we enter into a sitting room, which has just some of the best lighting in this house. We can see that the wall rounds out here. There's a TV and couches, so this area has a bit more of a modern feel for more modern living. It has a built-in sink because not all of these bedrooms up here have bathrooms, but there's still a nice place that you can wash your hands, pour yourself a glass of water, whatever have you. And off of the seating room is another bedroom. So this is definitely one of the more cozier of the bedrooms. It's very quaintly decorated. It has fun art around the walls, little trinkets to look at pretty much wherever you want to land your eyes. And the fireplace here, there's actually a fun story about this. When the owner received this house, these top tiles here were white, so someone along the way had replaced them. Maybe it was for decoration's sake, maybe there was an accident with the fireplace. Whatever the story was, it was missing the tiles, so she was actually able to locate these very similar tiles and put them back in here to restore this to its former glory. All right, so now we're down in the basement, and this place is an absolute wonderland. So there is a full-length bowling alley here with pins set up and even a ball return. So you can bowl in this basement. So walking off the side of the bowling alley, we come to a game room. The game room has a Versailles pattern laid out in linoleum flooring, as well as just these amazing game tables, and everything in here is vintage. Even an old automatron that's up on the wall here. And let's take a closer look at that because that's just a lot of fun. As we pan around, we'll notice that there's an old jukebox, there's stained glass, that even has the family's crest in it. There's also more games over here. And we can take a closer look at these old scoreboards because this is just something that we can just really geek out over. And there's even these old pinball machines. How cool is that? And up on the ceiling, we can see that these pharaohs are built into this upside down pyramid on the chandelier, and that's kind of a callback to the family's trips to Egypt. Okay, and as we walk down this way now from the bowling alley, we come to a really unique room. So back in the Prohibition days, of course, alcohol was not legal. That did not stop the original owners of this house from having fun though. So they have a cellar over here for storing alcoholic beverages. And today this is set up as kind of a dentist office. We can see these old vintage doctor signs and an old vintage chair as well. And we can look around and just see all these little dental trinkets. Coming through these doors, we get to the workshop. This has a fully functioning lathe. And just how cool is this to think that this is actually in somebody's home and that they live here and they have all of these machines that still work. As we leave the workshop and head across the bowling alley lane, watch your step there, it's a tripping hazard. We're actually going to get to a saloon. So as I mentioned, back in Prohibition days, you know, alcohol wasn't legal. So you come through these saloon doors and suddenly we're in a bar. And there's a fun story about this bar. This bar was actually repurposed from the St. Louis Library whenever it was being renovated. And there's also a player piano in this room. Shelley, thank you so much for opening up your doors to us and allowing us to film here. It has been an absolute treasure to see this house in person. Can I ask, what inspired you to buy this house?
Well, I used to live kind of nearby, behind it, on Longfellow. I drive by it all the time, and I just always, it was kind of overgrown and in bad condition, but the architecture is what inspired me. It just looked like it needed someone to love it. So, love was the inspiration, I guess.
Very good. And we saw all of your appliances in the kitchen, and you actually cook on all of these.
Yeah, well, not the refrigerator. You know, I cook on a stove.
Oh.
Just in case. Yeah, they all work. So, yeah, the refrigerators, they're all from the 30s. So, they do work.
That's amazing. So there's a special connection with your appliances to the original family who owned this house. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, this place is called the Magic Chef Mansion as a nickname. Charles Stockstrom was the one that had it built in 1908, and he was the founder of, well, back then it was the American Stove Company, and Magic Chef came out probably in the late 20s. Before Magic Chef, they had quick meal line of stoves. So the family here would have had a quick meal, but it was, their stove was gone. So the one I have is from 1935 that I found at a yard sale. So.
That's amazing. Everyone at home, I hope that you have learned something today and that you can take away a lesson in preservation just to see all of these things that are original details to this house, well over 100 years old, still in use. Let us know in the comments which room was your favorite. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time on This House.